there's a lot of people and people experience this organizationally as leaders, and people experience this as part of a team, is where they start learning from somebody, they start to associate with somebody. In the beginning, they just project what they want on the person. They don't see the real person, but over time, that projection starts to break down. You start to get to the real person. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that person's real. I'm a real person. And it's like, oh, I don't like that about that person. And then they use that reality to start picking them apart. What I've seen from you is for you to create an organization where people around you, they're able to go through this process of very, very dependent in the beginning to this place where they become a great leader in their own right, to this place where they become better than, I see this on my team. I have leaders who are way better than me at what they do than I am at what they do.
Well, that's what you're hoping for constantly.
But as a leader, there's a chance that you take. There's a risk. There's a risk that you take there. It's like, wow, this person has a lot of influence and sway with the members of my company, and I'm not bullying them back down, right? I'm not like putting them in that position, but instead I'm creating space around me for a big table of people who can, and where we're going to grow from that.
Yeah.
What's your experience been with that? Because I know you bring a lot of authority with you and a lot of conviction, but you're still able to do this other thing where it's like create space for people to grow around you. Yeah. They don't have to just grow beneath you, but they can grow up around you. What's that?
Yeah, I think that's what every leader is striving to do is how do I help people, find their path? And that's going to take maybe a little bit more work in the beginning, and for them to kind of be able to get to where they're going and to understand the value of, like we always say, man, they got to work on themselves to become the type of person that can get to where they're going. But I have to have grace to see them through that part, because it can be messy. And I think you're spot on. Like most leaders will let the ego talk a little bit and actually self-sabotage, because you've got somebody that is in your organization, they're coming up and they're doing really well. And, am I going to lose my ability to have an impact or my ability to have a relationship with other people because they're going to outshine me?
Yeah.
Right. And then ultimately what ends up happening is people try to hold people back, and then there's resentment, and it never, ever ends well.
Yeah.
And, I think you see some of the best coaches out there. Of course, I'm a big Alabama fan, and I think Nick Saban is such a great leader for so many reasons. He gets beat up in the media a little bit, and that's okay. But he has created an organization everywhere he's been where he feels like his job is to go hire people and then move them on to become and do their own thing.
Yep.
And when you look at the lineage of coaches that have kind of come from that, Kirby Smart doing what he's done in Georgia, Lane Kiffin. I mean, we can go on and on. There's probably 5 or 6 coaches just in the SEC, Sarkisian's at Texas. I mean, all these huge programs that Nick Saban, if he were to do what you were talking about and bring them in and say, I need to hold you down, you need to be an offensive coordinator here forever. No. Now that he has created this perfect process of bringing people in, a lot of times rehabbing their career.
Yeah.
And sending them off, and it's amazing how quickly that happens.
That's phenomenal.
2 years is what it would take for him to bring in a Lane Kiffin, or 3 years that was like a pariah in football, or Steve Sarkisian, who got left on the tarmac because he was going through some really hard personal struggles. It took him 2 years to rehab him and get him to one of the best jobs in all of college football, which was the University of Texas. And it's, I think that there's so many great lessons in that your job as a leader is not to hold people back. It's to get people to where they need to be. If that's even better than you, great.
Yeah.
That means that you've done a much better job than even you set out to be. That's right. That shouldn't reflect poorly on you. It only will if you don't manage that the right way.
Yep.
And so I think that's, as leaders, that should be all of our goals, is how do I find someone, give them grace through the transitional periods, be there for them when they need, probably less and less as they move along their path, but still be there to mentor them. And I may look up one day and this person's making twice the impact of the income that I'm making. That's not a bad reflection on me, man. That's how you build purpose in what you're doing.
That's right.